friends, once again it is indeed time for the most important political hour of the week. And that, of course, would be right here with me, your host, Stan McCauley, on Open Forum. And, of course, we're having all kinds of technical problems today. And y'all are going to have to bear with me on this because, of course, all right, bear with me. Let me figure this out here. I know what we're going to do. We'll clean this up in post-production. Alright, y'all, bear with me just a half second. I'll explain to you what went wrong. And we'll do this again. Okay. Let's do this one more time. All right. Restart. This doesn't happen once. This hasn't happened often, probably about once every 5 years. Let's try this again for the first time. Okay, my friends, welcome to Open Forum Live. I'm your host, Stan McCauley, and we want you to sit back and relax for the next 60 to 120 minutes or so as we continue our journey into the wonderful world of Hartford politics. It's Open Forum with me, your host, and of course, all of you out there with your phone calls. It's Open Forum. Now, we're late. We are late. We had a false start. We do 12 weeks on. Excuse me, we do 11 weeks on and 2 weeks off here at accesstv.org. And what that does is it allows us to do a lot of technical things. And this time, we decided to move the studio around. The theory behind the big move was to allow me to have guests on this program for this format, which means that we needed to bring my desk out from behind a wall. We had like a cubicle kind of thing going on for the control area. And the studio is in my home, in my office. I have a real big office here. And so I moved. This is the third time that we've ever moved the desk. Or actually the second time. We moved the desk once from its original location to where it used to be, and then from there to here. So this is the third time we've moved the studio in 3 years. And it was a fairly big move. As such, there were some technical issues. everything really came down to a wire about this long. This is it. It's not like thousands of wires. I'd say there's probably a good 200 wires that need to be connected, maybe a little more. And one wire wasn't connected, and it's hard to really know what's not connected till you go live. And this is the very first time we went live. It takes about 20 hours, about 25 hours to move all the control panel and everything, because there's all of the computer, everything is hooked up. So you have to take every single thing apart to move it, like 12 feet on the other side, a whole nother location. So I moved the control, opened up the room. This way I can actually have guests come and help facilitate some of our discussions. And they'd be sitting, go wide with camera 2. This is camera 2 shot. And so the guests will be sitting like right here. This will be where the guest sits. And then there's another camera right here. This camera will get a guest that sits across from me slightly to the angle. Okay. So our original director, Kenny, he would appreciate this. So we've got it set up so we can have 2 guests. So this is camera 1, camera 2, and this is camera 3 that's not hooked up yet. All right, it's there, but it's not hooked up. We just ran out of time. So we've been working on this thing like for the last 2 days, like round the clock into the nighttime, to get the studio configured so that we can have important guests come and talk about subjects that are near and dear to the hearts of you all out there, the constituents. And I'm really, really looking forward to bringing you real quality guests to talk about economics in the city of Hartford, to talk about policing and public safety in the city of Hartford, to talk about public works, to talk about all kinds of things. Summer job programs, whether it's a summer job, whether it's just a program, whether it's a slave brigade. Okay, so we want to talk about all those issues, plus some really cool people that we meet along the way that are constituents. We'll also have come in and sit down. So we can do a lot more with the studio set up the way it is. So this is camera 2, which means that the guest would sit right here. We had to reposition things, and so I have to get used to. I could direct the show with my eyes closed, because I knew exactly where everything is. But everything is still within arm's reach. It's just that I need to learn where everything is now. So it's like learning how to fly a new plane. Because I direct the program. But I have everything at my disposal. And because I got ready to go on and I couldn't get a signal to the computer, which means without that signal we can't do Facebook Live. The YouTube was fine, but the Facebook Live, we needed a wire this long. This is the wire we needed. It was in the hallway in front of the door in a bundle of wires, and it took me an extra 15 minutes to find the wire. So I found the wire at 10 o'clock. We were all ready to come on, and then we had another technical issue. I couldn't get my confirmation sync for the signal to YouTube. So we had to restart the modem. Well, not the modem, but the device. And I had to. That takes about 5 minutes to recycle. And then we finally got on the air. So where there's a will, there's a way, and the only way there's not a will is if you decide you don't want to do a thing. That's how stuff doesn't get done. All right. I think it's just as much purposeful to get nothing done as it is to get something done. Okay. So we haven't done the big share. So let's cue up some big share music and do the big share. All right. First, though, we gotta set up the camera. Let's get set up the camera too. I don't think we'll be able to. I don't think we'll be able to set up camera 2. Nah. This is very uncomfortable. This is how you do it. You do a stress test to make sure that that the system is working right. See, I was supposed to lean in and be somewhat in the picture, but not that much out of the picture. This is more information than you probably need to know, but this is what happens. We're live. We're live and we're testing the new studio because the new studio has been reconfigured, and it's nice actually. It is. If I do say so myself, it is nice. It's nice. We got four cameras. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a 5th camera that's not hooked up, but we will hook that up. And this is really going to be nice for our guests that we're going to have. But the controls are behind me, and they're too far behind. All right, let's do the big share so we can get into the program. Okay. All right. Let's get the big share out of the way. Then we'll jump into this. It'll be open forum. There we go. It'll be open forum. Okay. Here we are. All right. There we go. Share. It's the share. The big share is a portion of the program where we share this experience with friends, family, and foe. That way we keep everybody in the know. So we're going to start off with groups. Wireless keyboard. Yeah, this is... The only way I can test the system out, my friends, is to actually do a program. That's the only way I can do this. And so, bear with me. All right. Let's share first with Hartford Dwellers. Oh, I don't need this mouse. The keyboard has a mouse on it. There we go. And post. All right, glide pad. Remember when glide pads were new? All right. Next, we're going to share with some more people. You all can do this as well. This is very uncomfortable. There we go. I don't know how well this is going to work. This is why we do this, so we can configure this, do a run through, see how comfortable it is, and what we need to adjust. We'll make the adjustments, and then this time next week, we'll be just fine. All right, so let's continue our big share. Group share. Share the dwelling in downtown Hartford. There we go. Next, we want to share with wow, this is real slow. Another group want to share with dwelling on the north end of Hartford. All right, it's going to be open forum tonight. A lot of stuff happening in the news. Resignation of the police chief today. Hartford police chief. Let's see, I want to share community block watches in Northeast Place Arsenal community. Then we want to share with where they do that at, the city of Hartford. It's a group share. There we go. I like that, Brother Ron. Warning, thinking may be hazardous to your health. or rather, independent thoughts. That's true. A lot of people don't want you to think, ever. Let's see, continuing the big share here. We have a big share cheat sheet. That still goes. Group. What's on the big share cheat sheet? New England Women in Minute God. We're going to share with a couple of gospel groups because, of course, gospel folk vote, right? So let's see. Next, we're going to share with. We had a couple of unanticipated things happen that pushed the show back. In our pre-production time, there we go. I broke some of the cardinal rules associated with pre-production. I know better, but these things happen. Once they happen, you have to own them. I would fire myself, but I can't. There's no one else to take my place. And let's see, share next. Who else we're going to share with? I think we have all the particulars. Let's share with accesstv.org, Facebook group, virtual television network. Share with the independent thinkers, and then we will get underway here. We'll do a light share. We have a term we call go wide. If we go wide with the share, we share everything. We don't do that very often. Independent thinkers. But we're going to go light. That means a very selected group that we share with because of the fact that there's some technical issues associated with the program. And before we just start sharing wildly, we want to make sure that we're sharing something that's worth sharing. I think I got all of the groups together. Let's now share with a couple of pages. OneHartford.com. Also want to share with McCauley for mayor. Facebook page. Okay. Share page. You manage. Okay. McCauley for mayor. There we go. This glide pad slows things down considerably. Nothing like a mouse ball. Oh, this is what I have. These you can really move quickly, but trying to find this wire, I took this mouse apart, so I can't control this computer. This computer has a mouse that's on this side, because there's another monitor here. And I need, I'm right-handed, so I'm right-handed when I swivel this way, but here, I need a mouse over here. All right, we keep it light. Try to keep it light, every once in a while. You got to back up off the heavy stuff every once in a while and keep it light. Although I'll go full heavy if you call and ask a question about something that's a heavy subject. I don't mind doing a heavy, I don't mind answering heavy questions. It's not the same as coming here with a heavy subject. Connecticut Black News Network, there we go. And I think that's just about it. I'm going to share with one friend, and then we'll call it a day for the big share. There we go. All right. Yeah. I see what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to figure a way to get the controls, like slightly over. Yeah, we're gonna have to move this 12 inches here. And that's going to jam me up a little bit because I got to be able to get in here. And, but I'm definitely going to have to move because I can't, right here, folks, right here is where the controls should be. They should be right here. And they're not. They're over here. You see what I have to do? See what I have to do in order to, in order to do that, I need to come here. All right, and that's not going to work. There's a technical issue, and this iris is hot. Shut that iris down a little bit. See, I need to be able to control all of this, and I need to be able to do it seamlessly so that you don't know that's what I'm doing. All right, this is like this is like inside baseball. This is like proprietary stuff. It's like showing you the ingredients for baked beans, for Bush baked beans or the Coca-Cola recipe. There's a recipe for what we do, and I'm sharing some of that with you. Okay, and so we rearranged, we redid the whole studio, the whole new design, got a new look, new feel to it. Keep it fresh, right? Getting ready for spring, reconfiguring and positioning the studio so that we can do a lot more live programming with guests on this program. And so now that that's set up, we'll be able to have guests come, sit here, and also, on the other side of the lamp. They'd be sitting, you wouldn't be able to see them with that camera because that camera, of course, is going to show you the lamp, but it'll show this person, two guests at the same time talking about critical issues. Take a break, switch the guests out, new guests come in. So that's the plan, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it. Okay, kind of keep it fun, keep it exciting, keep it new and fresh. Okay. This is nice. I don't have to look up in the air to see this monitor anymore. This monitor is below the screen. There's a teleprompter right here so I can see what's on the air. Now the graphics are all right underneath the monitor. Okay, here's a graphic, but this is not going to work. This is way back too far. Here's the graphics. These are the graphics. But this is not going to work. All right, this is way too far back. Whole thing's got to come up here. My hand needs to be right, boom, right there, right there. See, if I gotta go like this instead of this doesn't work. So, gotta move this up. Gotta move this up here. We'll figure a way, right? We'll figure a way to make it work. Because that's what we do. We make it work. We make it work. And we are going to make that work. So next week when we come back on the air, everything should be all set. And I have to do this during the 2-week shutdown because it would interfere with the regular programming that we do. So, we do a major cleanup once a year, but we don't do a rearranging everything. And sometimes we might swap out furniture, but this is only the second time that we have, done a major move of all of the equipment. And everything is moved. But it's a lot more open. The studio's a lot more open, and it's a lot nicer. Okay. 860-944-9797 is the number. This is the opportunity for you to get on board and give us a call. What we like to do with this program is to give you the opportunity to participate in the electoral process. I believe that accountability starts with access. If you can't access your elected officials, then how do you hold them accountable? All right. A lot of people run for office. They talk accountability, but then they shuck and jive and hide and connive and do all kinds of other stuff. So, accountability begins with access. Like this. You're live. Hello? Yes. You're watching us on. You're watching us. We're delayed from what you're watching.
Oh, because it wasn't coming through on Facebook except for a printout of the watch you, and then on YouTube it looks like you buy a white what do you call that thing? Window treatment.
Now,
Are you?
say yes.
And on YouTube, I have to put you to my ear in order to hear you. You're not coming in.
Oh, you can't hear me on YouTube?
I have to put you to my ear in order to hear you. And I got my volume all the way up. Usually I cut it halfway down, but I have to have it all the way up to put it to my ear to hear you.
Okay. Well, 1, 2, 3. No, the volume is. We got good volume. That might be a local issue. Let's see here. It could be a local issue. 1, 2, 3. It's that. See, these are the things that we need to. We lost him. These are the things we need to check out. More volume. Let me turn this down. 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 in the room. Volume. There we go. All right, you all can help me out with this stuff. Okay. We got a good picture on YouTube. I can't hear the volume because I can't turn the volume up. But we got a good picture on YouTube. Good signal on YouTube. Looks like everything's working all right. All right, we got some volume set. All right, well, let's see here. Brother Ron, can you hear me? Oh, we got to wait for him to hear me ask that question because you all are about 15 seconds delayed on Facebook. Accountability begins with access TV. I like that. That's a good tagline. Loud and clear. Okay, so it could be a local issue. Sometimes people will call and they'll say certain things are happening. And there is no doubt that is happening, but it's not something that we have control of on our end. Sometimes there's weak signals. Sometimes there's a lot of people on the system. So even though you think you're paying for a lot of bandwidth, by the time everybody jumps on that bandwidth, you got enough. You got it's like snail width. It's a bandwidth. It's a band of snails digitally carrying your data from the source, from the origin to your phone, 1 byte at a time. Okay. If gets get out of hand, cue the sword. It's the sword. Yeah. Just in case someone gets in the house and comes all the way back. Soon I'm going to have to use a gun locker to put my sword in. That's provided I don't bring a gun. Bring a knife to a sword fight or a sword to a gun fight. But, particularly where I'm seated now, I can see clear through several doors to how the person would get to me. And so they come charging back here. I could get to that sword before they get to me. Unless, of course, they have a gun. Where is it? And speaking of gun, some people can't hang in Hartford. See this here? tilt up. That's a bullet hole. Sure enough. That's a bullet hole. Up the street, people were up there acting a monkey. And they shot at somebody. It missed the person, thank goodness, but it didn't miss my window. It came through the window over here and lodged in the wall. Right here on my street. And I'm not moving out of Hartford. I wouldn't think to move out of Hartford. And I have enough faith to sit in front of the window. So, acting a monkey. That's the term we use. That's an old term. I don't know if any of you remember that term, or maybe like local colloquialisms. I mean, that could be a term. Alexa, what is a colloquialism?
The noun colloquialism is usually defined as a colloquial expression.
All right, well, Alexa, what is a colloquial expression? Oh, Alexa, what is a colloquial expression?
Here's something I found on Wikipedia. The phrase "I know it when I see it" is a colloquial expression by which a speaker attempts to categorize an observable fact or event, although the category is subjective or lacks clearly defined parameters. Did that answer your question?
It did, and you're getting better. I'm so proud of you. Alexa, just gets sharper by the day. Artificial intelligence is studying you. Yeah, that's a colloquialism. Act a monkey. Now, it is very subjective, but it is, I wouldn't think of moving out. I didn't increase security. My children and I still walk around the house. We're old school. We're that unique group of individuals that believes when your time is coming, you can't run, and you ain't leaving before your time. That just goes hand in hand with people of faith. Now, either you have faith or you don't. For those who don't have any faith, you need to be scared. But if you have faith, there's nothing to fear. Don't be scared getting on a plane, a train, a submarine. But Hartford streets, there's not a street in Hartford that I fear going on. The mayor was out in Hartford down on Park Street at 10:30 at night. So, he could walk around in Hartford. Now, there's some question as to whether he was walking or driving. But by one account, he was walking. And he's walking down like Broad and Park, which is not too far from my house, which means it's not too far from his house. So, yeah, he could have been out there walking. He's been known to walk around, shake hands and all that kind of stuff at night. I do. I'm not scared to go out. And so I don't think, if you're not coming into Hartford to buy drugs, you really don't have that much to be afraid of. If you're not participating in drug business, you don't have that much. Now, innocent people get caught up. That is worthy of due concern. That is something to be concerned about. But Hartford is not a dangerous city. There are people who try to make it seem as such. The current administrator downtown went out of his way to make it seem like it was the most dangerous city on the planet 4 years ago this time. So people use Hartford for all kinds of reasons. I love the city. And in spite of that bullet hole, put new glass in the window and kept on rolling. That's all you can do. That's all you can do. But accountability begins with access. to the person you're trying to hold accountable, not access TV. Accountability begins with access to the individuals that you're trying to hold accountable. If you can't hold them accountable, if you can't get to them, you can't hold them accountable. All right? And democracy is a funny thing, folks. Democracy like children. Children explore the possibilities. All right, to coin another phrase. Right? Children always want to see where the edge is. You have some kids that are going to play it safe. Like I have three daughters, but I have two daughters that are still young enough to be at home. All right? And they're totally different people. The one daughter, the older of the two, she's 9 now. And when she was a baby, you could take a piece of thread, and if you put the thread in a circle around her, she would go no further than the thread. No further. We would have her in her room, and we would put a thread at the door. She wouldn't cross the thread. She wouldn't cross the thread. She's very by the rules. She's a by the rules kind of person. All right. So I have to be concerned about her willingness to comply. All right, because you get hooked up with compliance. A lot of people comply just because. Like police officer, show me your ID. Why? Are you breaking the law? You know. So there's a time to comply and then there's a time not to comply. All right. She's a compliant type. She'll comply, ask questions later. Her sister, you could put a gate, you could build a brick wall at the door. She's going to find a way to get through it and find out what's on the other side. So, we had one of those child safety gates. You turn around, she's standing behind you. Climbed over the gate, got out. The other one won't come past the thread. Okay, so government is like that. Government is that kid that gets out the gate. Government is that kid that goes and starts the car at 7 years old, and you get a police call you in the morning talking about, how your son or daughter got pulled over driving your car. And you're like, what are you talking about? They're in the bed. No, we just pulled them over driving your car. That's how government can be. And so if you don't watch government, it will act a monkey, right? It'll go wild, doing all kinds of crazy things, right? Believing that it's something that it is not. All right, and you're the parent, you're the constituent. The constituent are like parents for government. And if you just let your kids do anything, then guess what? They will do anything. It's the nature of children to find out where the edge is. All right, the ones that don't find out where the edge is, you're blessed. Not a problem. There's nothing like kids that do everything that they're told and never, ever break the rules. Because there are those kids. And so you don't have to worry, period. You don't have to worry. You have some politicians that do right by their constituents, always wanting to represent the constituent, always fighting for the constituent, always got an ear for the constituent. And those are good ones. Those aren't the ones you have to worry about, right? Trust but verify. Make sure they're doing their job. It's the ones that have the tendency to be corrupt. Politics, putting out lies, taking in cash, those are the ones you got to be careful of. Because they'll say anything to get in. And then, of course, once they're in, it's too late. Right? And then they have the apparatus of incumbency to push through. All right, start offering out awards, certificates, things like that. Okay? Speed bumps. You promise to get your street gets swept 3 or 4 times in a 4-month period before the election. Everyone else got to wait 2 years. That kind of stuff. That's the power of the incumbent. You get your street paved, get a new playground. All right. So these are the things that will do. But if you hold them accountable, same thing with your boards of education, any elected office, you have to hold them accountable. It's representative democracy. You and you alone have to hold them accountable. And you have to act like you're the only one. Don't depend on your neighbors to do your job. Everyone has to work to keep government accountable. And so from time to time, you actually have to go to a meeting, go to a city council meeting, go to a commission meeting, go to a committee meeting, go to a, go to a meeting. Nikki says politics equals a pile of tricks. Politricks. I don't call it You're kind. I'm a little bit putting out lies, taking in cash. There's no sense in beating around the bush. All right? Put out lies and take in cash. Where's the cash come from? Your tax dollars. Your tax dollars. How do they get it? Lying to you. They lie. A lie offers the easiest path to what an individual is trying to acquire. So they lie. All right? And if you don't call them on the lie, then they will get away with it. So accountability is required by you, the constituent. All right. You want a Hartford just for you? Okay. A Hartford just for you begins with you at the center. And you at the center means that what you have in terms of wants, aspirations, desires, needs, all matter. And to the degree that government can help facilitate those things, you need to take advantage of it. So you might say, well, I don't need government for anything. What about schools? Government, right? In Hartford right now, we have several schools underway. You got Weaver High School. All right. Weaver High School is being built. From what I understand, is a cash cow. People just the amount of how shall we say this? They're spending money that is unnecessary to be. Let me rephrase that. The city is being charged in excess of what should be charged, because they're milking the project. I have this from very, very close inside sources. All right. But that having been said, your tax dollars pay for the school. Whether it's city tax dollars or state tax dollars or federal tax dollars, it's your dollars that pay for the school. But in addition to that, the color of this, what color are the walls? What curriculum is going to be at the school? It's going to be a magnet school. It's going to be a community school. What kind of lunch is going to be served at the school? What is the temperature going to be set at during the wintertime relative to the summertime? Will the school be open to the community so that you could use the swimming pool when the school's closed? Every last one of those are political decisions. They're political decisions. Every decision made in the city of Hartford is a political decision. Every single decision. This is the capital of the state of Connecticut. To give you another perspective and another lens, for those of you who think that politics and government is not worthy of anything, like your time, right, which is the most precious resource you have. It's more valuable than money, time. That's the only resource that actually really, 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 really matters. Your time. All right. And you can use that time to make money. But guess what? While you may spend all your money, while you may go bankrupt, you can always earn more. But time, once it's gone forever. So make sure you use it wisely. All right. In Hartford, every eating spot in the city of Hartford, downtown Hartford particularly, is a political gathering place. Go to First and Last. Okay? Spectra. It used to be Washington Diner and House. Okay? But the Dunkin' Donuts. The Dunkin' Donuts near the Capitol, relative to the Dunkin' Donuts in Bloomfield, relative to the Dunkin' Donuts in Windsor, relative to AAA Diner in East Hartford. See, depending upon the conversation you want to have, where you have that conversation means everything. Sometimes you want people to see you having a conversation with folk, and other times you don't want anyone to see you having a conversation. All right? Those are political decisions. Who talks to who at what outing is a political decision. Whether your street gets swept once a year, twice a year, 3 times a year, or once a week, those are political decisions. You driving down the street, you see 15 mattresses stacked up outside. If you call the police department, they're going to tell you, well, that's an issue for Department of Public Works. We suggest that you use the 311 hotline and call. They're not going to come. But if the mayor calls them, that's a political decision. Guess what? Now they come. All right. You can't call 911 for stuff like that. You can't call the chief for stuff like that. You can't. Right now, there are some people in the city that are connected enough to get on the phone and call the chief. But that's not the average person. That's not the average constituent. Okay. That person that can do that would be considered a special interest. Right? Special interests often trump the power of the constituent. Okay? Your lobbyists. All right. The lobbyist works for a particular group or individual to take forward an idea or a notion that they would like to see become law. And so they are dedicated strictly to that cause. Now, you, on the other hand, have a representative, an elected official to represent you and fellow constituents up at the state capitol that pass law. Here on the local level, at your city council, who pass local laws known as ordinances. Okay? So they'll pass an ordinance or a referendum. Well, we don't really do referendum here. But ordinances, they pass ordinances. And so the city will pass, the local law, and they're your representatives. You know, there's a lot of people in Hartford don't even know the name of the city council people. They probably know the mayor's name because the mayor gets out there and, generally speaking, people know the name of the mayor of their town. When I lived many, many years ago for a time in Bloomfield, I never knew who the mayor was. I didn't know the mayor's name. I didn't care. I was in that group of people who went to work, came home. You live in life. The last thing on your mind is politics. Who the mayor is, who the city council is. You pay your taxes. It's in your mortgage, right? If you got to get the snow plowed off your driveway, you do it. You're not even thinking about the city actually plows the streets. It's just something that just kind of like happens. All right. And most people's exposure to government is when something goes really, really wrong and they need government and they find out that it doesn't really work the way they thought it does, the way they thought it did. And then they start getting involved. Government likes that. They like that you are disconnected. They like that you are removed from the process. But it is your government. And you should be just as involved in what goes on with government as you do with what goes on your job. Right? It's not your job to micromanage your boss or what the business objectives of your company are. But you want to work for a company that's pretty solid and maybe have a track record of being around. I like Texas Roadhouse hamburgers every once in a while, right? And the nice little rolls they have, that's rolls. Nice soft rolls. But the way they treated Hartford, I stopped going there. For the most part, I might go there now like maybe once a year. I used to go there all the time when they were over on Flatbush. right? Because it was like our Texas Roadhouse. Then one day folks showed up, gone. Just gone. So, is that the kind of company you want to work for? If they leave like that, that means you don't mean anything. The employees showed up for work and they were gone. Remember the Hastings Hotel? Same thing. They closed down over Christmas. Merry Christmas, we're closed. Right? Folks showed up, gone. So how would you have liked to have been an employee? All right. So having an understanding of where your company's headed, what their strategic plans are, these are things that a lot of people they kind of don't get into. But I'm saying you should. And you really should do so when it comes to government. All right? It's very, very, very important. Every decision is a political decision. There's another way that you can participate on the program. And of course, that is by calling 8609-49797. The other way is on your screen. Questions and comments. You have to go to Facebook, though. I can't answer questions and comments on Twitter, on LinkedIn, or on YouTube because I can't monitor all of that. I can't. So, but I will monitor and do monitor the Facebook feed. All right. And so I can see the questions and I can address them. So if you want to ask a question or make a comment that you would like me to respond to, just put it on the Facebook feed. All right, and then I will see it. So there's enough of them now that I can go to them and start catching up. Good evening, Suzanne, Brother Kenny, Anita. I think that says Anita. I have to zoom in with my. Now I'm obviously getting older, but now I can see where the need to expand the font size. Brain drain, warning, thinking may be hazardous to your health, independent thought, wandering off the reservation. Groupthink is a psychological phenomenon that occurs within a group or people in which the desire for harmony or conformity in the group results in an irrational or dysfunctional decision-making outcome. Group think. All right. I think it was I won't use that analogy. Yeah, groupthink. Collective egotism is also in there. All right. The group feeds off of the ego of the leader. You have these things happening in cults many times, where you have that kind of group thing. Very dangerous. You have to be very careful. Open forum. You're live. Turn your TV down in the background.
I just did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, YouTube. The sound is coming much better now.
Good. Good.
You had mentioned some things earlier. You had said like House was a place where people used to go for breakfast.
House was a political meeting ground for a lot of the political bosses, particularly in the North End.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And see, I remember Hartford when Bellevue Square had Cheryl Smith, and they had an African dance troupe, and Cole Thomas came down from New York, and they formed the Artist Collective that used to be on Clark Street, then moved to Albany Avenue. I remember Hartford High and Weaver having the the city game, the basketball team, the baseball team. Stone was coming out of Bellevue Square as a boxer, and this one had this and this one had that, and then the West Indians moved in, and they had the different restaurants and stuff. But it was something that represented a culture that made you proud to be from Hartford, and you go over to I think it was I don't remember the name of it, Franklin Avenue, and it was the place that sold these big, thick grinders, and you could make 2-piece sandwiches out of them.
Yeah, Franklin Giant Grinder.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't get that feel anymore. Maybe because I'm out of the loop, but I don't get that sense in Hartford anymore. When people used to come to the clubs, we're between New York and Boston. And so people used to come here to party and stuff. But, downtown used to be vibrant. And you can go downtown and shop. And now the colleges are there, that's fine and stuff like that. But that we used to go into Sage Islands or G Foxes and all the little side trips. All of that's gone now.
Well, it is gone. There used to be the talk of the town restaurant. You go down there, get you a raspberry lime soda, and get you some pie from Sage Island down in the basement. G Fox gold tag sales. People fighting over everything they can get their hands on because it's on sale. But those days are gone.
You used to live in downtown over G Fox's.
Over the Richardson.
Yeah, that was over G Fox's, right?
It wasn't over G Fox. It was in between G Fox and Sage Allen, over the Richardson Mall. But you can go to G Fox without going outside. That was back in the 80s, when there was a semi-renaissance in Hartford. In fact, folks were so afraid of some of the things that were going on that they passed an ordinance that would prevent the Richardson from becoming condos. I think it was like a 100-year condo block on there. At least that's what I was told when I moved in there. But
it was something to be proud of. I mean, I know that Hartford, in terms of and I can't speak for black folks because we're not monolithic, but it used to be if you were from Bellevue, if you were from Bellevue Square, Stowe Village, Blue Hills Avenue, Kent Street, Albany Avenue, but you knew where black folk was, and the Spanish had Park Street over this area, and then the Italians had Franklin Street, and you understand what I mean? And that sense of community, to me, has left. Maybe because I left and came back, and even getting the buses. I remember it used to be the K bus, and the K went to Main Street, and the U went to Albany Avenue, and the T bus went up Blue Hills. And now, if you ask the person, is this a T where they going? I mean, everybody doesn't know the number system. Some of us remember, and that's how far I go back. I remember letter systems. But yeah,
well, like, how old are you?
60.
See, all 60-year-olds thought that it would never happen. They all thought they would never sound like somebody 60.
Yeah.
But you sound like someone 60.
But you know what I was watching the other day, and even the way that these children act now and the things that they're taught, I guess when we were coming up, because of they had the segregation and stuff, and I remember the I think it was 64 or 68 they did the Voting Rights Act. Was it 68? And then how things had changed for us, and I remember all the Project Concern and what's the name of that? Upward Bound and I forgot the other one that they had over for the kids that Carver High and stuff like that. But they had Upward Bound, and we would go to Trinity College in the summer and get tutorials and stuff like that. And then they
well, you know what you're doing. You're romanticizing. You know, this happens with every generation. When I say you sound 60, it doesn't mean that you sound like an older person. It means that you've arrived at a point in your life where you can remember when things were a certain way and they're not that way anymore. Of course, when we were younger, all the older folk would talk about how we were doing stuff. So, you know, music like Kurt Franklin and all those things, y'all listen to that music ain't not gonna glorify God. I mean, you know, just every generation has the people who eventually become stick in the mud.
And I guess more so the point that I was trying to make, I grew up in an era
of community.
Not even community, when we're representing the first to go, the rest to follow. And these kids that have come up in integration don't know what was paid in order for you to live like this. And I grew up when there was you had to represent the culture.
Right.
When you went downtown, you dressed a certain way, and like now it's like anything goes, and we've had all this freedom and all this integration, and what are we doing with it?
Well, those are perspectives, and so, you know, like what happened to the African American Parade? Folk that went and organized it got old. And they moved out, retired. Some died. Their kids moved away, like kids do all the time. So there was no push. The Puerto Rican Day Parade had a time when it dropped off. But there were enough young people that had the motivation to move it forward that picked up the speed and moved it forward again. Now, there was a group of young black African Americans, all right, and West Indians who wanted to move the whole idea or the notion of the African American Day Parade forward again, but then it kind of died off. Because, see, this is actually heavy lifting and a lot of work. And parades are a way to, celebrate something. So if it's going to be a cultural celebration, the struggle has changed for black folks. Now, I know there's some who say, well, you know, the struggle continues and nothing's changed, but that's not true. As you mentioned, the integration has caused people to marry interracially. Kids don't see black and white the way we see black and white. They don't process certain things the way we process certain things. So, you know, the generation now is still offended by certain terms. The younger generation don't see nothing wrong. And so there is a maturing that happens with a generation. And, you know, if people look back to the way it was, and I don't care what racial group, I don't care what ethnic group, I don't care what culture, there's always a desire to look back and remember what was. But what was is gone. And even at the end of the discussion of what was, how Hartford used to be and all of the greatness that Hartford was, well, it's not that anymore. We don't drive 55 Chevys. We don't have 1970 Corvettes. You know, we drive almost type electric vehicles, very smart, vehicles.
I said that to say this, like a place like Harlem. Harlem is known for the this and that in the street and the restaurants and the this, that, the other, and
it's still there.
Right. I forgot the name of the place. The Apollo Theater, this, that, the other. But the people that live there know how to sell to tourists. We had the West Indian thing and all that came in, this, that, the other. People knew how to sell West Indian food.
That's true, Kenny. And you bring up
that brings a city when the people in the city understand that this is what we're selling. This is what we have to. You know, you can't rob the customers. You know, stuff like that. There was a way you represented where you were from.
Right. But we're still in the same circle. Hartford is not Harlem. There's no depth, no deep bench on the cultural shelf of ethnic Hartford that is representing the African American diaspora, to the degree that there are more than 4 restaurants competing for customers selling soul food. You can count the number of soul food restaurants in Hartford on one hand. You can't count the number of soul food restaurants in Harlem.
Right.
So there's it's just not here. In Philadelphia or in New York or in Chicago or in Dallas, you might have in a community 60 or 70 PhDs who disagree with one another, who can have a discussion at that level and come to a consensus and then move the community forward. How many PhDs do you have represent African Americans that live in Hartford? Or that represent Caucasians that live in Hartford? Or the Spanish-speaking community that lives in Hartford? Okay, Hartford only has 120,000 people, 125 or thereabouts. Okay, there are more people live in Co-op City than there are more people in Co-op City School District than live in the Co-op City. You know, you drive down 95 where all those towers are and the school buses.
This is in Hartford?
No, New York.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Co-op City in New York. Okay, so Hartford is really a small town. And so the dynamic in terms of cultural things, if your kids don't pick up what you have and run with it, then there is no legacy to move it forward.
Right.
And so it just stops. It's not anyone's fault. It just is. So the question then is, where do you go from here? The Artist Collective, near and dear to your heart. Okay.
Don't stop. And that's another thing.
So
with an agency, with any agency, let's say like actors, we had Eric LaSalle, dancers, we had Charmaine Hunter, Creation, whatever. People that go out and make it. When's the last time somebody from the Artist Collective has made it? But that in the dance part I'm talking about. I don't know about the music part. But you know, and people are known by who you send on. Who you send on comes back, and they want to give and do this, that, the other. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm shut my mouth. Maybe because I've been away so long that I'm not connected to it like I used to be.
Well, I don't necessarily think that that's the case. And the reason I'm taking the time to talk about this to the folks that are watching is because what you're talking about is a very, very important component of Hartford moving forward.
Right.
Because we cannot move forward.
Remember and know where we should be going. You know what I'm saying? It's like it doesn't. I just think that again, when you have like the school that's you have I want to say high school for the arts, but it's something else in Hartford. But
The School of the Performing Arts.
The School of the Performing Arts. That you have these kids, they don't even know who Charmaine Hunter is. She's an international diva. And people like that coming back and giving to the kids, and Eric, wherever he's at, going back and teaching. And we have people that are from here. We have Ricky Mahorn, used to do basketball, and another guy from Bellevue Square, I forgot his name. But the only thing that I'm saying that I had a friend ask me why I don't go downtown.
Why you don't go downtown?
Right. But what and to what unless I'm going to the library. Or unless I'm going to an event. You know, and then there was something about a place that can draw people from all ethnicities because they were good, and they were good at what they did, and they produced good fruit.
Well, yeah. This is true, and it's also. I hear what you're saying, Kenny, but at the end of the day, it is not 1980, 1990. It's not 1955. It's 2019, and this is where we are. So,
but unfortunately, those that we want to send on.
Hello.
Illusions, male and female, whatever your personal proclivities are, keep them to yourself. That's how you move on.
Well, I mean that is relevant to a certain sector of our society. That's not relevant to everybody.
Right, but what I'm saying, as we move our best foot forward, that there are ways of conducting yourselves in certain genres. You know how you deal with an eclectic mix of human activity. You know how to deliver whatever it is, but we need to come together as a city. I don't care if you're selling brownies, you're selling cookies, you're doing this. Be the best at it, and let's be known for making cookies and brownies and this, that, the other. You know what I'm saying? So that we can grow as a community, as a city at large. If you like Spanish rice, you go over to Park Street. If you like West Indian food, you go way down Main Street. You know, stuff like that. I don't. I'm gonna shut up. I'm old, and I'm gonna shut my mouth.
I hear your frustration, and the only thing I could say is that we will do our level best to return a semblance of what you're talking about.
And you're the man that can do it because you know how to do with an eclectic mix of human activity. I've seen you in action.
Well, I can. That's this right, but I mean, you know, the fact that you can code shift through a multitude of things actually speaks to the issue. In that you can deal with an eclectic mix of people. Is an outward manifestation of the fact that there are so many different groups of people, and groups change. Right. Things change. Millennials change, you know, or millennials.
Oh, you've seen them. I know over the I've been knowing you for over 30 years, and you've been filming, and you've had to, if nothing else, because you had to look at it and make sure it was done right. From weekends to the Badoon to whatever else people was into, and folk got along. Lorna's Corner. Look at Lorna. She's out in California now. You know, what's his name? T. Diddy did a thing and put her in his video.
Well, I mean, you know, working with people is different from shifting cultural norms. And
what I'm saying is that these people came from Hartford. We need to build that fire up again when we start sending people out there and let them know this is what you do, whatever your situation is. If you're a makeup artist, if you whatever, get in there with these kids and teach them the right way to go. That's what we need to do as adults. Like somebody did for us. Paul Mathis did it for me. He was a member of the Dance Theater of Harlem, and then he came to Hartford and danced with the Hartford Ballet. Made sure I went to Boston Conservatory and Alvin Ailey's.
Well, I hear what you're saying. You know, these things, with the right leadership, these things can be done.
Well, you're the right leadership, and those folks that have been a part of your eclectic mix need to support. Because when we had all the black mayors and this, that, the other, black folk got together and they put them in office. You're eclectic, and people need to come out and support. And I want to see you win in November.
We are.
This phone now and let you carry on with your show, and it's different because you have on a red jacket. And what is that thing behind you? It looks like a
sword.
Is it a sword?
It's a sword.
Oh, I was trying to figure out the whole show. What the heck is that?
That's my sword. It's usually not in. It's always been where it is. You just couldn't see it.
Okay. I said, is he trying to match the red outfit and the black leather thing? Okay. All right. Stan McCauley from here. Later.
Bye, Kenny. Yes, I know. I have an eclectic group of friends. Yes, the people I know and my friends span the spectrum of all kinds of things that people like to do and are involved with. And, Hartford is a diverse city. And there are many, many, many great people in Hartford. But cities change because people change. New people come in, people leave. All right. And that's just the natural process. And that's never going to stop. But you can't, one thing I always like to caution people on is that, I believe you can't move forward looking back. There are some who hold to the idea, the notion, you can't move forward until you know who you are. If you don't know who you are, you're destined to make the same mistakes over and over again. I guess there's some truth to that. But, the past is behind us. It's gone forever. The future is not here, and the past is gone. So we live in the moment. We live in the now. And because we live in the now, we need to focus on what's here now. So, relative to the way things used to be, how can we get them back there? How can we get them back there with respect to where we are and those individuals who are used to it being this way? Change can come, but change has to be brought forth at a speed at which people can accept the change and are likely to warm up to and embrace the change. Otherwise, you have disaster. Group members try to minimize conflict and reach a consensus decision without critical evaluation of alternative viewpoints by actively suppressing dissenting viewpoints and by isolating themselves from outside influences. Groupthink requires individual to avoid raising controversial issues or alternative solutions. I think that the best, and there's more there, but you all can read that. I think that the best thing is for everyone to be involved. Groupthink, as you mentioned, is a psychological phenomenon, but I think at some point it becomes a natural byproduct of the desire to get a thing done by a particular group of people. Even if you start off with a broad collection of individuals who are not working in concert with one another, eventually like-minded people are going to find themselves and they will become the group. And out of the whole, you're going to find some who are real good at moving agendas forward, real good at leadership, real good at organizing. And before long, those people are going to collect together, and then they're going to force, as best they can, their will on the whole. And so the best way to make sure that the whole is served by the small group is to be participatory, is to participate. All right? In a democracy such as ours, the only way group can silence you is if you allow yourself to be silent. We live in a time where, while silence may be golden with some, they can't force you to be quiet. We're on a platform right now that has changed many lives. All right? That platform being Facebook. A week ago, tomorrow, a woman lost her mind at the supermarket and her life has been changed forever. All right? Lost her job. She's likely to lose her kids, until there's some sort of psychological evaluation of her kids, her household, her relatives and friends. Okay, all because she made some crazy rant that was captured on Facebook. You have an opportunity to speak up. So if you attend a meeting and things don't go the way you like, you have access to venues to get your voice out. All right. Not to mention the fact that you can speak up at a meeting. So groupthink becomes relevant when the group starts to encroach upon what it is you would like to do, or upon something that you are doing. So groupthink is going to force on Connecticut residents tolls. All right. It will be a small group of people who make the decision, but the small group of people are elected representatives. They have tremendous power because they have the backing of constituents. So if people don't want tolls, they need to turn out and make their representative aware of the fact that we don't want tolls. All right. If you don't say anything, then your silence will be taken as affirmation. Silence is confirmation of the rightness of an individual. So because you are silent, it means I must be doing a good job. Otherwise, you would have said something. Right? This is what happens when people don't vote. Folk complain about the current mayor and they don't vote. That means things must be cool with them. Okay? The most powerful person that casts a vote in every election is the person who stays home. Think about that. All right? The person who does not vote affects the outcome of an election more than anyone else, because it is a vote for the status quo. So you got to vote. Everything is hinged upon your participating in government. Okay? You participate in political processes all the time. You may not think of it as politics, but if you have lunch on your job and someone's going to send out for who goes to get the food, that's a political decision. Whether or not you get a raise on the job, that's a political decision. All right. What's going to be on the pizza, that's a political decision. All these things are political decisions, and you all participate in them all the time. So you need to participate in your government. Care enough about your government to get involved. Greetings, Stan. Hello, Lorraine. Secret recipe, Raphael. That's okay. Brother James, you need a production assistant. Well, I only need well, yes and no. I need a production assistant when I go on local shoots. I can't use a production assistant here. The issue here today was not a production assistant issue. It was a configuration issue, because we moved everything and we effectively redesigned the studio using existing equipment. So everything has changed, and so there's a lot of stuff that needs to be hooked up. And this broadcast is the stress test for the system. All right, I'll look at the broadcast and see what needs to be adjusted. The only way you can test this is to actually broadcast. That's the only way I can test it. And I guarantee you it'll be running smooth next week. It'll be running smooth next week. And since the broadcast is live, people are gonna watch it. So since I gotta sit here for 2 hours and do a test, I may as well wait to the program. I can get away with that because I've been doing this long enough. Okay. It's not that critical. Okay, let's see here. Absence of responsibility is crucial. Oh, excuse me. Acceptance of responsibility is crucial. Anger is only as big as the attention it's given. So, my brothers and sisters, defray. constituent is the parent, government is the child. That's what I believe. $103 million renovation, building out Weaver. $103 million renovation / build out Weaver. I don't know what the number is, but I've been told that it's just a field day in terms of folk making money. It's laughable. The money that's being spent and made that's unnecessary. But that is not within my sphere of influence right now. What is the latest with the principal that was collecting his pension when he was found to be brought up on charges of being a pedophile? Well, you know, a charge is just that, a charge. The determination has to be in a court of law. So what happened was he resigned. This is old news that happened some time ago. There was an individual who was accused of being involved in an inappropriate texting relationship with a student. Because that happened out of state, the legal jurisdiction for the action, couldn't really be applied. And under mounting pressure under the spotlight, he resigned. His resignation, you can't fire somebody that's resigned. If they resign, you can't fire them. Now, had charges been brought forward and found guilty, then perhaps you could start to go after their pension. But a person is due their pension if they work. If you work in the school system for 30 years and then the last 2 years you lose your mind and do something stupid, you still worked for that pension. So to take somebody's pension away would require some real legislation, and you will get maximum pushback. To me, taking away someone's pension for bad behavior is after the fact. All right, someone spills a quart of milk on a regular basis. At some point, you need to tell them, stop spilling the milk on my new rug. But if you don't say anything, then 3 years from now, you talk about having new rugs put in. The new rug is not the solution. The solution is dealing with the source of where the milk is coming in from, and that's some knucklehead that keeps pouring milk out on the rug. All right. These kinds of things don't happen in a vacuum. When someone is violated in terms of their rights, boundaries crossed that should not be crossed, then it is incumbent upon people to report those things when it happens. And that's going to take a certain amount of courage, but it also comes as a result of cultural changes. All right. There are far more women who will now say something because it's no longer socially acceptable to have the guy on the job say some glib remark, because that's what boys do. Boys will be boys. Well, be boys when you're by yourself. Don't be boys here in the office with me around. All right? Or you'll be looking somewhere else for a job. I mean, that's what needs to be said. And then when he does it the second time, turn him in. Because you have been offended by actions that are clearly unacceptable in the workplace. So anytime someone is offended or someone moves against you, then you have to treat it like a crime, so to speak. It may not be criminal by the legal definition, but it's an offense committed against you, and that's how you have to handle it. Anytime someone commits an offense against somebody else, they're looking to cover their self from exposure because they don't want to be found guilty and they don't want to suffer the consequences of their actions. So they'll lie that they did a thing, they'll cheat that they did a thing, they'll tamper with evidence, they'll do whatever they have to save their behind. All right? So it's not going to be easy, but it stops when you don't put up with it. All right? So and this is something that can be applied across the board to anything. You know, anytime a system, school system, government, corporation, church, when you promote people out of the workplace, whether it's a department, whether it's a branch, when you promote people out because they're a nuisance in causing havoc, so you can't fire them, quote unquote, so you promote them out. I take issue with the you can't fire them. They are not rendering the service for which they are paid. Therefore, their services are no longer needed, period. And individuals that operate like that don't get a pass. And you can't give them a pass. Because when you give them a pass or they get a pass, then their behavior has been sanctioned and they continue to do so. All right? And it shouldn't take an incident of scandalous proportions to get rid of somebody. These things need to be tackled and approached when you have contract negotiations. All right? Many of the things that you all want to see happen in terms of accountability for employees who work in the public service sector, who work for you, all right, they are protected by the contracts that they have with their unions. The time to take care of that is during contract negotiation. But the unions benefit from a constituency that's not informed and disengaged just as much as the politicians benefit. So instead of you, the constituent, who's footing the bill for all of this, who has a reasonable expectation that services are going to be provided for you in the city where you live and pay taxes, instead of getting those services, you get used and abused and exploited. Once every 4 years by your major elected officials, once every 6 years by some of your senators, once every 4 years by some of your congresspeople, once every 2 years by some of your state representatives. Okay? They come, they tell you what you want to hear, you hire them for again, and then all of a sudden now you're mad at them again. So when you vote for people, you're not voting for your friends. I tell people straight out, straight up, don't vote for me because I'm your friend. Vote for me because you believe I am the best candidate for the job. And the only way for you to know that is to get to know something about me as a candidate. It's not a popularity contest. It's a who's best for the job contest. Given the current state of affairs, given the current social status and structure of the city, and the reasonable expectations that people have for themselves and for their communities. Who's best going to deliver that? You just changing drivers on the same bus route? How's that work? You can't just change the bus driver and expect the bus to go to a different place. Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah, I can't. Down at the bottom of YouTube, when you watch a live show, you can usually put in a chat down there.
Yes.
I'm seeing more people than I've seen watching you on YouTube now because it gives numbers. But I looked on your Facebook. It doesn't allow me to stay any longer on my phone. So I typed in. People have good questions that you would never know about because why don't they call in? This is a talk show. You know, it's just like when folks want to be involved in the community, get involved. It's a talk show. Call in.
Okay. Okay. So Brother Kenny is saying call. I will get to your questions, but call if you want a quick answer. Then we can have dialogues. Brother Kenny said call. Call in. Right. It is a talk show. All right. And it's better if you call, but some people don't like to call. Harvard's a small town. People are more comfortable putting their question. If the school is only being looked at based on live physical structure, who determines the true goals of the schools for the students, for the scholars, right? All of those student scholars should be expected to, by teachers and administration, as well as parents, community, and business leaders, to graduate qualified for college, trade school, etc. Emphasis added. Let me see if I can. Oh, no. Let me see if I can increase the font size. Oh, much better. Now I can see. It's too big. There we go. Okay. It got too big and I couldn't see the cursor. All right, here we go. That's much better. All right. Yeah, well, you know, all these decisions are political decisions. The curriculum is, for the most part, spearheaded by the, you have some state standards. But beyond that, your superintendent of schools is the visionary. The board sets policy, and in conjunction with the superintendent of schools, those policies are implemented in the strategic move forward for what your curriculum is going to be. All these decisions are political decisions. That's why you get to vote for 4 members of your board of education. The other 5 members are appointed by the mayor. So is your mayor going to be hands off? Is he or she going to be, outraged at what's going on with the schools only in an election year? Sit idly by during the regular school year and contribute nothing? Okay. The mayor is the chief elected official of the city. As such, per charter, he or she gets to appoint 5 members to the board. What kind of people are you going to appoint to the board? I've already stated who I want to serve on the board. It's on my website. If you go there, you'll see it. All right. And we did a whole program around that. And that's me. I'm open to suggestions, obviously, but I have a reason for my 5 being who they are. Now, the citizens at large get to pick 4 people to represent them, and working in conjunction with the 5 that I pick as empowered by the charter and the people who vote for the mayor. Okay, the mayor gets to appoint 5. All right. So I believe that the mayor should be a chief cheerleader in moving the agenda forward for the schools. Like this whole situation around absenteeism, like it didn't just start at the State of the Union or the State of the City message. It's been going on for years. All right. And it's been a brewing issue within Harvard Public Schools. And there have been many cries for help from the school side, only to fall on deaf ears or indifferent ears. Okay. And I know of what I speak. I'm not talking off the cuff. All right. And so there's some disingenuous for the feigned outrage that's now being thrown about. But the whole city has to work together. to tackle the issue around absenteeism. And absenteeism is the result of a multitude of things. But the fix for it is not in the police department. You don't get a youth specialist to deal with school absenteeism and youth violence. These are, to me, public health issues and social issues, not policing issues. Because a lot of the resource, energy, effort, and mindset, groupthink, the thought process toward a remedy, because vision is nothing more than a remedy to a problem. All right? Everyone's vision should basically be about the same. How you go about remedying it, how you implement that fix, that becomes the real issue at hand. All right? Vision, that our bus would be able to continue on its journey because all the tires are flat, and how are we going to fix all flat tires? So the vision is plain. Now, how are we going to go about doing this? Now there comes in the debate. Okay, so everyone should have a common vision. Now, the fix is going to be different. Some fixes won't work. Some fixes will work, but there would be a more efficient way to do it. Okay. You might have debate among the people as to what fix would work best. All right. But the ideas, notions, the thought that you bring to it, if you think that the opioid crisis is a public health issue, your approach is totally different than it is if you think that the opioid crisis is a crime issue. Oh, they're nothing but criminals. So what do you do? You lock them up. So a criminal approach to a problem is a policing action. All right. A public health approach is a totally different. You bring aid, you bring resources, you bring education. You find ways to work around what is perceived to be a problem and help people change their lives. Right? The other one, lock them up, throw away the key. There's a difference. Who you elect, all of that is part of it. Outsiders building up our schools with funds that should have been used up our community via a contract that was put into place by the city council. There are a lot of communities in Hartford. Each community thinks that it is the center of the universe. And for all practical purposes, they are the center of their universe. But there are a lot of communities in Hartford. So that I have to speak in broad terms. Hartford residents can benefit from Hartford projects if there is a will from Hartford elected leadership to make that so. This has nothing to do with what a person promises. I use this as an example. If someone is purposing and trying to do good, then you're going to see good, right? If a person is purposely trying to do good, let's say someone is going to feed the hungry. You're going to see proof of it. Even if they don't succeed, you're still going to see some proof of it, right? They went out, they bought food, they prepared food. There's some tangible evidence of their desire to do the good thing. So when politicians talk about what they would like to do and what energies we're getting, where's the beef? Right? Even if you try to do the right thing and fail, there's going to be evidence of the right thing you were trying to do. That's why I say all the time, as it relates to politicians, what did you know? When did you know it? And what did you do about it? It's no good to do something about it now that everyone knows and is complaining. and claim that that's something that you did. You didn't do anything until now. So the when. Now, had you done that way back, then you get a kudo. But you don't get kudos for reacting. There's no reaction kudo. Right? You react means you get caught off guard. You like turn into the tidal wave. It's too late. It's too late. Hard left rudder, right? The iceberg ahead. It's too late. How'd the iceberg roll up on you like that? Something went wrong. What did you do? When did you do it? When did you know about it? Well, we didn't know about the iceberg until the last minute. That's why we ran into it. It's like redlining. Okay? So, if it is the intent of the Hartford City Council and the mayor to make sure that on construction jobs in the city of Hartford that there is compliance, where the amount of individuals that live in the city are participating in the opportunities to be advanced economically. If it is their will to make that happen, then it will happen just like it does in New Haven and other cities around the country. If there is a will to sidestep, to talk out of one side of the mouth and do another, then you will see evidence of that. How many people from Hartford are working on the job sites? If they're not qualified, qualify them. If you can qualify average citizens during wartime to go and prosecute the technical aspects that are required to wage a war, then you can train people how to do almost any job associated with the trades. I don't care whether you're building jet engines or putting together a computer or building a tunnel, all right, with whatever advanced machine you can think up. It's got a control system on it, and you can train somebody how to use the control system. It's not rocket science, all right? You're not sitting down doing, the formula for transparent aluminum. That may take some education, but some jobs are jobs that you can be trained to do. All right? And so if it is the idea, notion, or will to make sure that we have people trained, that we have people working, then that's what will be done. And when you guys accept these training programs, make sure that the training program happens in a window that is reasonable enough to prepare the person who's taking the training program to actually get the job before it's finished. Open forum.
Hey, Stan, it's Lorraine here.
Hi, how are you?
Okay. I decided to jump on a call. I think that's advice. Going back to our discussion and what they're now seeing on the piece in terms of number one topic, all this money that went into Weaver. I mean, we've had discussion many times. But here again, money that I could understand if the building structure itself was not deemed safe, then you fix it, just like our highways, this, that, and the third that's going on with the viaduct in 84 and all that. Mm-hmm. Then there's a need, it further. But we all know, and I'm going to tie this in with a lot of the folks that we're talking along with you and having dialogue about, we all know there's the issues of absenteeism. Mm-hmm. Becoming actively involved in your community, civic engagement, as Dr. Boa put it. During Kenneth's mention, and we talked about culture. I mean, I'm 65, so you can imagine. I got 5 years on, and I remember what Hartford was like. Mm-hmm. I worked for the 880 Jazz Club for years, and I saw that brought people into the city from New York and Boston, and the people that might have lived in Hartford to begin with. And we have, as you well know, we've got just a wealth of folk in the art, all the art areas of the arts that can contribute both to our schools and to our community.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you say, we're getting that back. Because we all know how each of those ethnic communities, which is a beautiful thing, all thrive. I went from one to the other to the other. You knew where you could get the best Spanish rice. You knew where you could get, you know what I'm saying, anything of that culture, be it food or art or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I miss that too. Because although, as you said, and briefly, yeah, you know, Hartford changed. People and places change, and a different generation comes in, and what is deemed, you know, hip or the thing to have, so to speak, lack of a better phrase, then that comes in, and that gets a try.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's good, it lasts. If it doesn't, we all know, since I'll go back to the 880 Club. I mean, thank God folks like Real Art Ways, they're still bringing a lot of that up, that about Artist Collective. I don't know what their status is now, but it's a shame that the very riches of our community and which were thriving more, what we gave back to in Hartford, aren't alive and well and aren't being tapped into, not just for the sake of the community in terms of entertainment, and people looking upon Hartford, wow, they got this, they got that, because there is a whole lot here that goes, as you well know, unnoticed. But more so, to bring these folks into our school. I'll use another example that you're very familiar with. Sister Aniano. She goes into the public schools, and she does African dance all over the place. These are things that you can't put a price tag on.
Right.
These are valuables that, and she thrives at this, God bless her, you know. But, I mean, so many, and her mother, and the workshops, and what I've talked to you about that just phenomenal women are doing with our youth, and Teen Talk, and unfortunately, it's getting a space. I'm still working on it. Getting a space that's not going to charge us to have literacy workshop to address the needs of our Hartford community, to have teen workshop, you know, to have dance and all these different photography and acting and all. Like I say, no, Hartford Stage does a program with our schools. But it's a shame that all that we know that should be there, that brings in the very people that were born and raised in Hartford, who has made it, or otherwise, you know, just a wealth of people, as you always say, that can make such fabulous contributions, not just to our schools, but to the community at large. To have these businesses open up where we have a couple of local places that are known, like Sylvia's in Harlem. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That whole thing, like you were saying, it'd be a beautiful thing if we had that kind of culture come back into our neighborhood, be it theater or restaurant or playhouses, or, you know, all these things that are just here and there now. I'm not saying that we still got great jazz in Park,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not what we used to have in terms of you would want to catch 3 different dates in one given night in my day, because you went from one to the other, from the 880 to the Rockin' Horse, the Russian Lady, because there was music all over the place. I mean, it was like the city that never sleeps, you know, taking on New York, you know, with just being able to see the city thrive with things that you could do that brought it alive.
Well, you have, you know, once again, you have, you know, there are opportunities to incubate a whole lot of ideas, because I talk to people, yourself,
Right.
Kenny. I mean, I could go on and on with all the different people that I've talked to who have a vision for what Hartford can be, and their vision for what Hartford can be is predicated upon a whole lot of things. Some on what it was, others on what they have seen elsewhere, and others simply just great ideas, not because it was something or can be something, but because it was a great idea. Unless you have leadership that is genuinely interested in helping to move forward an agenda that is inclusive of everybody, and moving and is not afraid or under the false impression that if I move forward an agenda for yourself and for Kenny and for Barbara, whatever the case may be, it's not going to hinder the other things that we had. It's only going to add to it. So a lot of people want to take the path of least resistance, what Brother Martin talked about as groupthink, and so they are automatically predisposed to the idea or the notion that, well, we want to shut down any resistance, anyone that's speaking against this idea. We don't really want to entertain those thoughts because otherwise we'll be here all night. That's not true. You can respect other people's ideas. You can embrace those ideas and add them to the mix without changing what it is that you intend to do. So if we're going to go from here to California, let's go from here to California. But somebody wants to stop along the way. Okay, well, we got to stop. So why not plan our stops to where they want to go? Someone wants to wear pink. Okay, well, let them wear pink. Hey, everybody ain't got to wear black and white. Okay, so
it's like you guys. It's like you guys said. Our little crew here is familiar with that eclectic side, and there's a whole lot of good you already know that could come out of that, and have an impact upon everything. Like you say, it's not that we're stuck in the past. It's not that we're, and I agree that it's the way things change. It's not that we want it like it was, but bring back the very valuable things the things that add value, I should say, that are the real cultural riches in all these areas that bring any place alive again.
Right. Well, that's going to that's going to require the participation of the constituents. You will have a mayor who is. Our whole campaign is built on a heart for just for you. All right. You are the constituents. So what is it that you want to add in terms of value to the city? Government can only do so many things. However, it can work with any and everybody that it chooses to. Right. And so if there is a desire to bring to do a restoration of culture, a restoration of values, a restoration of, what is the community norm, then the people who want to see that have to step up to the plate and articulate their desire. Because if they don't come to the table and have that debate with everyone else, then they wind up being on the outside looking in. And so there is no room for apathy in a democracy. You have to be a participant, because it's only when you participate and you render, differing points of views that you come to consensus, and then everybody can agree to move forward. And that's when you start, in my opinion, to get the dynamic movement where people are moving forward, respecting everyone else's differences, as opposed to being intolerant about difference.
It's like you say, that you have we all have an opportunity to have a voice. It's a matter of people stepping up to use their voice, as you well know. And I know it's like I said a couple of times with our different topics. That will has got to be there, and unfortunately, a lot of people don't exercise their right, as you well know, to step up to the plate and speak or attend meetings and the whole gamut, that needs to be done. It's, and that's where, the old cliche of you got the government you deserve because you put them there.
Amen.
In one way or the other, if you didn't speak up. So, and I know from being a part of organizations all my life, and mostly nonprofit organizations, it's the toughest thing, as you well know, as well is to get people to volunteer. And it's to get people to come on board and give us their time. You know, and I'm not saying that as a negative, you know, or trying to make that sound negative. But that's just, you know, it's the same people that go to the meetings, the same people that step up, same people that come out. And they're few and far between. As much as they may talk about a given issue, they, you know, okay, what are you doing about it? So, you know, it's not just those elected officials that are being relied on to do it. It's we as a constituent.
Yes.
We got to use our voice. And,
yes.
and I know 9 out of 10 times most people just don't do that. They you know, they sit back and watch. You know, I'm not going to be able to change it. You know, they got the defeatist attitude that my one voice won't matter. And, you know, well, yeah, numbers do count, but still, you know.
The voice matters, and everyone needs to participate. Those that don't do themselves and their communities a great disservice by being on the sidelines. You've got to participate and add your value and add your richness, add your viewpoint to the discussion, because that's how the discussion, that's how things get crafted. And the worst thing that person could do is to just disengage and sit on the sidelines. Right.
Well, we're going to hope for more. I'm cheerleading over here. I'm hoping many, many, many more people get involved in bringing Hartford back, you know, to life, so to speak. You know, in all these areas, our schools number one. Well, I can't even say number one because the economic development. As you know, that I'm very passionate about the multitude of land that can become prosperous and rebuild what's been sitting for 20 plus years, you know, dormant and disaster, to say the least. And, you know, these are things that, you know, are so very important, you know, and our kids, there's a lot of ways. I mean, you want curriculum, we're not even talking textbook. We're talking about bringing that very culture into the classroom. And I sent you an article, I think, a week or so ago, and that Bronx teacher said, here he was a dropout, a homeless guy, that the teacher brought him back around, got him back on track. And what did he say? The key is to get the kids motivated, hands-on learning, to let them learn not by old standards of just relying on a textbook.
Right.
And he's teaching kids in the Bronx AP chemistry, and they love them, and they're learning, and they're all becoming college prepared because you tapped into their interests and you didn't do it, you know, the way via just textbooks. It was all hands-on and group learning, and it worked. It's proven time and time again, especially for your active job. It gets it built. You know, who cares how they learn as long as they learn? You know, be a little innovative. Bring in these. Let them do this. Let them move around.
That takes courage. It takes leadership, and it takes support. You know, because if you have an educator who's willing to take those courageous moves, is the administration allowing, you know, its wings to shadow the education department and the superintendent in terms of what it is that they're providing. So, you know, everybody has to be on the same page so you can move the whole community forward. And part of that move is with the educational process. So, you know, education is a gift. Teaching is a gift. Everyone can't teach. Unfortunately, we have some people who want to teach, and that's cool, but they're not gifted in teaching, or they're constrained by the rules of an administration that won't allow them to teach because they've got a test or they've got a score that they have to that constrains what they innately want to do, but the system is preventing them. At the end of the day, we want kids that can learn. I want Hartford's kids to be at the top of the learning pyramid. I want them at the top, and I'm going to support efforts that make that happen and then hold people accountable.
Well, I think the real beauty, what stood out to me about this particular teacher, the message is very clear in the sense that here's a guy that won the New York State Teacher of the Year award based on the fact that he went outside, he thought outside the box, and he got these kids on board in such a way to become so successful that it's spoke volume. That just goes to show you that be open-minded. If the administration allowed him to do this and it took off with flying colors and resulted in this guy becoming the recipient of the New York State Teacher of the Year Award, then that says something.
Well,
that just goes to prove that if the administration, when we talk about culture and how to teach and what works versus, teaching to the test and all that we've talked about. If you see something has proven itself and has been successful, and at the top of that league, it made the children successful, I'll quote you, that ain't rocket science.
It isn't rocket science, but there is, like, he's a unique individual. And sometimes chemistry between individuals works. If he has something that is duplicatable, and it can be duplicated and done in other circumstances with other populations, with other, that aren't, then by all means, those things should be embraced. I mean, charter schools started off as being, a laboratory to try new experimental things. And then it turned into what we have now. But it's going to take dynamic leadership. It's going to take a community working together. And with that, we can change not only Hartford, but we can change Hartford Public Schools. We can do so much better if we're all working toward making it better. And so there is a Hartford just for you.
Yeah. Here. I agree. But I figured, okay, so let me call in because I'm way down there when Jennifer was talking about the communities, and right away, for me, that just spawns out to everything else we're looking at. That, it's not just a matter of having those folks come into school and having that culture come into school, but having it embrace and thrive on it to be in our communities again. Even if it's a different dynamic of people, there's still, like you say, there's still enough ethnicity in Hartford to all thrive. All thrive again. That's usually the beauty and the vibe of a city that's alive.
Yeah, Hartford's potential is off the chain. It hasn't even begun to be tapped right now. From my perspective, Hartford is not in the midst of a culture war. It's at the crossroads of, do we turn? In what way we turn? There's a fork in the road. And so which fork do we take? One fork points to a future that is an economic equation. The other fork points to a future that is people-oriented. And so it's just a matter of philosophical approach. One approach says the people are the revenue that's going to drive change. by virtue of their getting better, things around them will get better. The other one says, well, when we change the economic equation of Hartford, then we'll attract a better grade of people. That better grade of people will bring money with them, and those that can't hang, they're gonna go somewhere, but they ain't gonna be here. I mean, that's the attitude of some people. So the voters have to determine what kind of leadership do they want in Hartford, and then it's really going to come down to the constituents to go out and exercise that power that they have as voters, and be engaged. If they are unengaged, disconnected, then they will get services that they don't like, and they just have to live with it, because it's clear where we're going to go if we look at what was just done. Okay, so leopards don't change their stripes. People are who they are, and you can tell a person. The best people are more than likely going to do what they've done before they do what they say. They will more than likely do what they've done in the past. You can be guaranteed of that. Will they do what they promise? That remains to be seen. But the track record is what they've done. Look at people's track record. Don't believe the hype just because they want to be elected to office. Because folk will say whatever they need to say in order to get your vote. And then once they got it. Yeah. Okay.
All right, and as far as pensions, I got to bring that one last point up. With this side, I totally understand, because it was after the fact. Like you said, unfortunately, I just didn't hear the outcome was bad as taken. I figured they were going to take it back to court and that. But you're right. I mean, had somebody spoken up beforehand, and this is big sound before this guy resigned, then, because I'm not looking to take anybody's pension. I don't like what's happening with the city of Hartford claiming you're bankrupt and you can't give teachers the pension they earn when they worked all those years. No, not good.
Yep.
But that's another. I'm not going to even open that can now. But it's unfortunate that and I know as a teacher of 30 years, the very things that one honestly earned, that Connecticut should be ashamed of itself, that you're saying you can't pay out these folks that retired and did their service, and you don't got their pension for them. Shit. Come on, really? That's shameful right there. And I know, because a lot of as well, a lot of your senior people, they don't, Social Security isn't enough. So doggone it, if somebody was an educator or in a field that came with a pension and they paid into that pension, and then they deserve that pension. And don't tell me you're broke and you can't give it, or you gotta put tolls in to, put that money back so you could pay their pension.
Right.
Just a comedy of errors, for lack of a better phrase. But, it's a sad state of affairs when you see things like this that happen as a result of these folks that we elect that don't, in fact, do their job. And, hype it up to mean one thing, and then it turns out all of a sudden what the very thing you were praising up and down got us bankrupt.
Right.
Yeah, But on that note, Godspeed.
Okay, my friend.
You have a good night.
Okay, you too.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. All right, so we have a technical issue here. You all can hear me, but I can't hear me because the amp. This is where we do. This is why we do a stress test to see what happens when things fail. There's a monitor in the room so that I can hear whether or not there's sound. The monitor is battery powered, and so after 2 hours, the monitor has died. All right, actually, 2.5 hours. The battery died, but the battery wasn't fully charged on that PA system. Let's see here. Nope, that won't work. I know that won't work. I know what to do. We'll take a short break and then we will be right back. And I'll find out. I think I can plug that in. And that should fix the problem. So we will take a short break and we will be right back. Stick and stay. Hartford is run by the Democrat Party. It's a single party town. And it would make no difference if it was a two-party town or if it was run by Republicans. All right? Anytime an organization runs a thing, the organization that manages or runs it wants to remain in power. When a political party runs the responsibility of governing your city, they're more concerned about remaining in power than they are concerned about providing needs for you, the constituent. It's your government, not the party's government. That's my only issue with the party. I'm a Democrat, all right? But I will never be embraced and accepted by the Democrat Party in theory because I'm not towing the party line. You understand what I'm saying? So the party needs someone to run for mayor. The mayor is an instrument, and he is a component of the machine that is city government. But he's less accountable to you and more accountable to the party. And the party has an apparatus by which to hold him accountable. The town committee. All right. And then the chairman of the party for the local municipality. And then the chairman of the state. And then and on and on and on. And the president and all that other stuff. And so the state committees. All right. So they want to vet you. So you run for some local office first and see if you can be trusted, this, that, and the third. Can you be trusted to lie, cheat, steal, put out lies, take in cash? Can you be trusted to do that? If you can't, then we can bring you in. All right, but we always got to hold you at bay because the power is tight. The power is like an aphrodisiac. People like it. It's worse than cocaine. Right? They want the power, and once they get a taste of the power, they want to hold on to the power because the power is literally to give projects up or down. That's it. All right, but the power is not meant for that. The power is there to manage the system on behalf of you all, the residents. Okay. But when you as a constituent are not satisfied because there's people being murdered and it doesn't seem like anyone's giving it any attention, and you feel that your investigative agencies like the police department should be looking into these things, you then become a thorn in the side of the people who are supposed to be doing stuff. All right? Or you have a community review, like a civilian review board. And the civilian review board flags particular incidents that happen by police officers. But those incidents might be a liability to the city. So the city is crushing those things from going any further because if they do so, in theory, they'll expose themselves to a liability and they could be sued for millions of dollars. So they never sees the light of day. So you, the constituent, who's supposed to be in charge of all of this, are kept in the dark. There's no transparency because they don't want you to know what's going on with your government because it is a threat to their power. So if you want any of that to change, you need to elect somebody who you can hold accountable as opposed to the party installing someone who is beholden and accountable to them. This is not rocket science. Very simple. Very, very simple. Very simple. Don't let anyone tell you that you don't have the capacity to hold accountable your elected official. They want you to think that way because then you accept the fact that you don't have accountability over them. But you didn't put them there. The party put them there. Understand? The party put them in office, not you. You think your votes put them there, but it didn't. It only takes 35 votes to get into the office of mayor. That's the town committee. If those 35 people come out and vote for them, they're in. They don't need you to come out. All right? So you have the illusion of choice, the illusion of a modicum of control that you think you have, that you find that the rude awakening comes 3 weeks after they get in office. You get the old royal shaft. Because you didn't put them there. You understand? If you put them there, they would be beholden to you. If you put them there. As an elected representative of the people, you are beholden to the people, not the party. And that's why Hartford is in the shape it's in. Because your elected officials are beholden to the party. Okay. All right, we got that resolved. Here we go, we're back. So now we know what we need to do for that. Get that thing working. All right, we redesigned the studio and we had, hundreds of wires to connect and remove and reapply. And so there's some cracks in the system, but that's what tonight's program is for me. It's a opportunity to stress test the system and make sure everything is working. So that takes care of that. All of a sudden, all the sound went away. I couldn't tell whether it's. I have to be able to monitor the sound to make sure that we have a signal and that it's a good signal. All right. Let's see about some more of these questions. There is currently a principal candidate search soon to end for Weaver High School. Hopefully, the candidate pool is not compromised. Is not comprised of straw men. Weaver High School deserves a principal who has substance and integrity, that promotes, supports, and produces greatness for our youth and our community. All right, well, I agree with that 100%. However, it's a political decision. Once again, all these decisions are political decisions. And, you can want whatever you want to want. If you listen to if you listen to the Weaver people, I covered a meeting that was at Weaver High School in an auditorium, and there were Weaver alumni there. The state representative Douglas McCauley. He was not a senator at that time; it was a state rep. He came to the meeting and he said that he came to the meeting to say that the first time he heard that there was funding for Weaver was in the paper, and he had a problem with that because he sits on the appropriation committee at state capitol and he hadn't heard anything. So what's going on? So I was at that meeting. This is years ago. Portions of that meeting, if not the whole meeting, is on my network because I covered it and put it up. All right. So I said that to say this. There have been many mayors since that meeting, many council people since that meeting, but the people remain the same. And inevitably what happens is that things change from what the constituents want. You get the government you deserve. And government are like bad children. If you don't hold them accountable, if you don't watch them, they will do what they want to do, not what you want them to do. So accountability begins with access. If you cannot access the people who are making the decisions on your behalf, then you're not holding them accountable. Accountability is not the ability to complain about what's not being done right, because a complaint is not changing anything. It's just you being mad. All right, so you be mad. That's about it. And you mad. And what are you going to do about it? Okay. What are you going to do about it? It's not enough to be mad and vote somebody out. Anybody but. That, I hope y'all learned a lesson with that one. Anybody but. That's not how you vote for people. Who are you going to be working with? What are they going to do for you? How are they going to advocate for you? I believe Hartford deserves advocacy that is centered on the needs of the citizens, the wants, aspirations, dreams, and desires of the residents of Hartford and the constituents of the city of Hartford. Avon has that. Simsbury has that. West Hartford has that. Glastonbury has that. Winstead has it. Marlborough has it. Enfield has it. Right. All these towns that have elected officials that move mountains on behalf of their constituents. In Hartford, we are going to move mountains in spite of constituents. We'll appease them long enough to get done what we want. You all put up with that if you want. That's your call. All I can do is run. I can only cast, but I know who I'm voting for. In this election, I'm going to vote for myself. But my one vote won't get me in the office. My one vote won't get me in the office. So, you know, I can't get in office by myself. Yep, going downtown, deja vu. How do you feel about Mattress Gate? Mattress Gate seems like a stunt, a political stunt. I don't doubt the mayor calling. I don't know whether it was contrived, but it doesn't need to be contrived. I'll give the mayor that he saw it. I have no problem calling anyone that works for me, if I'm the mayor, about anything I see wrong in the city. I have no problem with that at all. If I was the mayor and someone littered, I'd follow them to their destination. As private citizen, I'm not going to do. But as the mayor, if I see someone litter out their car, I'm following them to their destination, and I'm going to call the police department. I'll press charges if I have to. All right? I want them to give them a citation, and I'll show up at the court. I saw them litter. It's on my dash cam. But the Mattress Gate thing, here's my problem. My biggest problem with the Mattress Gate is all the press that it garnered. And the press conference about the mayor being a hero because he called the police on someone throwing out mattresses at 10:30 at night. All right. It seems like a publicity stunt. And it doesn't matter whether it was his idea or a staffer's idea. At the end of the day, the buck stops with him. I have discussions with my staff regularly about ideas and notions, to the degree that there are some who think, well, what do you have advisors for if you don't listen to them? And I say this humbly, as I explained. I don't have to listen to advisors. That's why they're called advisors. I'd be foolish not to solicit what advisors say, what they think, but I still have to make the decision. And I am not likely to seek advice from something I think I can handle. But if the advisors think that I've done something that is in error, speak up. I surround myself with people who will, in a heartbeat, tell me, that I'm wrong. There's no sycophants around me. Everyone around me will tell me straight to my face, you're wrong. I need that. Okay. But you need advisors for when you don't know and for when you want to run something, to them. But you're not obligated to check in with advisors. The advisors aren't elected. All right. And so if you come to a place where you can't make a decision without running to your advisors, then you should not be in leadership. That's just a fundamental idea and notion that I have. Now, it could be wrong, but that's my orbit. That's my orbit. Okay. I want all the best advice I can get from as many people as I can get, and I want my decisions to be challenged. I don't mind people challenging my decisions. Okay. So it's the mayor's fault, period. Whether the advice is good or bad, it's the mayor's fault, period. Because he's the chief elected official and he is the chief executive officer of the city. All right. And so, I have a problem with the press conference. All right. You call, fine. I don't have a problem with that. But for it to become the press spectacle that it became is very questionable. I don't see how that rates to be a story when the guy's just doing his job. I'm not a fan of kudos to the person that does their job. I have a history of thinking this way from back when I ran TV stations. I don't believe in rewarding people beyond their paycheck and you did a good job. Because you were hired with the expectation that you're going to do this. This is not fifth grade where we, encourage everybody for every time they put a dot over the I. There's a certain expectation that you're going to do your job. The reward is your paycheck. Beyond the paycheck, working with a team that you are contributing to and are a part of, and the whole team, the whole staff is rewarded. I like to reward people. But I reward people because they're doing a phenomenal job and are worthy of the reward, not because they have an expectation that I'm going to get an attaboy. I'm fundamentally opposed to that kind of stuff. All right. So when the mayor does his job, that's what he's supposed to do. Now, if a private citizen does something like that's a reward. That's a reward. But the mattress gate sounds just like that, mattress gate. There's more to this than meets the eye. The police department is out there talking about he's a hero. Come on, give me a break. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Our youth need to be taught consistently in the home and at school about civic engagement. That's a very much needed of the curriculum that is absent in the school system. Well, that's true, but that is a that's a political decision. And what kids should get taught and what they're actually taught is a decision. So if there's a desire to bring civics back, then that's a curriculum decision that can happen as a policy, and someone has the political will to make it so, and that's it is. March 21st, communication. This was supposed to be the communication town hall. The first one we did was a disaster. It was an downright disaster. We tried to do a virtual town hall, but in order to have an effective virtual town hall, there has to be participation. And while we have lots of people who watch the program, and while we've tried our very best to push forward the idea and the notion of, participatory back and forth with callers, as you can see by today's program, the calls are not. They're not that level of participation just isn't there. It's due in part to many things. We're in a shift in terms of how people consume information. More people watch on demand than they do live. And in order to participate, you have to join live. And so until we can find a better way to get people to participate, this is not the best forum for the town hall. It's a great forum if people participate. It's a great forum for open forum because we do open forum like you would a talk radio show, with an understanding that people tune in every 10 minutes. They tune in for 10 minutes every 10 minutes. They tune in and out. So as long as we're on the air, someone will tune in. They'll drop in for a little while to get a little something, then they'll bounce. All right, but that can only happen if we're on the air for a long period of time. So we do like a 3-hour broadcast block, maybe like even 4 eventually. I don't expect people to watch us for the whole 4 hours. The only people I expect to watch for the whole 4 hours are, opposition research people. They have to watch all 4 hours because I might say something that could be used against me, or to know, so the opposition know how to respond. So we have fun keeping them watching way up into the middle of the night. So that works for me. But the virtual town hall requires participation. I can't just talk ad nauseum and fill in stuff. And that's not good. That's not good. Because the virtual town hall is different from the open forum. I get away with this kind of stuff with this open forum. I can't get away with that for the virtual town hall. So we need to restructure what that will be. I didn't take it down because in my heart of hearts I still want to do it. But we just have to come up with a better way of doing it. Because it's meant for you to give feedback. And it needs to be feedback from a broad base of people. And so we just probably need to wait a little bit longer before we do the virtual town halls. Yeah. You can go to the website and see the communication goals that we have. The communication goals are creation of a robust city information network by utilizing public access television, channel 95 and 96, WQTQ radio, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, local print publications such as the Hartford News, Inquiring News, La Voz Hispania, and other print publication to keep Hartford constituents up to date and well informed about municipal information. 2, open communication between all city departments and improve communication with neighboring municipalities, as well as with state and federal government entities. Keeping lines of communication open and working, with our colleagues in other cities and towns, working in partnership with them, not being their mayor. It'll be mayor of the region or mayor of the city. 3, user-friendly access to the spokesperson for the mayor, who will also act as an ombudsman for the constituents. All right, that's a goal, communications goal. All right. So the unofficial ombudsman for the city would be the communications person. Now, I know communications people got a lot of work to do, but you stay well informed. Strong focus on public relations and marketing. And a weekly live broadcast, open forum Q&A with the mayor, like the one we're doing now. If blessed to become the mayor of the city of Hartford, we will continue this forum. Now, whether or not people utilize it to the fullest extent that they can remains to be seen. It is I would imagine that as mayor, phone calls there will be no end of, but I'm not the mayor right now. And so, but yes, this would continue. Now, the virtual town hall is for each of those 5 goals, there are 5 opportunities for each of those, or 5 there's priorities, there's goals and objectives. So there are 5 objectives for each of those goals. All right. So we got 5 priorities. Communication is one of the priorities. All right. Youth and education is priority number 1. Priority number 2 is communication. All right. Working outside of silos, mission-driven, working outside of silos, among the city and among organizations, among government, non-government, those kinds of things. The third one is crime and public safety. Excuse me, the fourth one is crime and public safety. And then last but not least is community economic development. So there's economic development, and then there's community development. But among my economic advisors that we have, I have several. I have a lot of advisors. We refer to them as senior advisors. The way our organization is structured, our campaign organization is structured, we have advisors on each of the goals. Okay, so I have advisors. I guess what some might call a kitchen cabinet. All right, and the way our advisors are set, we have very public advisors. We have people who are just advisors. They're neither public nor their advice is critical to the success of the campaign. And then we have covert advisors. There are people who are associated with the campaign that no one knows. If people knew that they were associated with the campaign in any way, it would cause them to jeopardize what it is that they do. All right. So those are advisors that are, anonymous, you could say. I'm just being transparent with you. All right. And I value their advice, and I do listen to them. All right. I don't want you to have the impression that I don't listen to my advisors. Okay, because I do listen to my advisors. There isn't an issue with me listening to advisors. The issue is that I should check with my advisors before I do something. That I take issue with. All right. Now, I don't mind hearing that in the future when you do this, you should at least run it past somebody. I could get with that. Before I make a public statement or say something, perhaps, consult with, you just let them know that that's what I intend to do. And that was the compromise. I will let you know 12 hours in, well, I'm changing it already, 12. It was 24 hours. But I will let you know in due time, in advance of my intentions to speak publicly on a subject. I'm not asking for permission. I'm letting you know so that you craft anything you think you need to craft so that it is in line with whatever you think it should be, or I should be brought up to speed on a thing. But I generally don't talk about something that I don't know what I'm talking about. That's just a rule of mine. That doesn't mean I'm not wrong. But I don't want you to think I don't listen to it. Anytime someone gives me advice, I adjust accordingly. I catalog that information, and I use it in the determination of what I am about to execute. So I listen to advisors. It would be foolish to have them and not give ear to them. but I expect pushback from advisors. And I want to push them so that I know that I'm getting the best advice. And, but at the same time, I still have to make the decision. So, what I'm taking away from this broadcast is that pretty much everything is a potential discussion. See it clearly now. Well, it depends on how the question is phrased. If I get a question, I'll answer the question directly. If someone makes a statement, this is why I like phone calls. If someone makes a statement, it's presumptuous of me. I don't want to be presumptuous, assuming that a person means something that they don't mean. Because a statement is just that, a statement. It's not a question, so I don't know what to say about it. On things that I don't have control over, because I have these conversations literally, and I'm not exaggerating, all day long with different people about stuff that's going wrong with Hartford. I am not in a position to fix anything because I am not in charge. I am not the mayor. So I don't have the authority to go and fix a thing. If I was the mayor, I could tell you what I'm going to do. But a political decision, laugh out loud. Right. Everything is a political decision. Oh, decision. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, decision. My bad. It'd be good if the mayor could read. No, I can read, but it's hard for me to see the screen from here. It's like I said, we're testing we're testing out the equipment and its placement with tonight's program, and it is outside my visual range. I've had to make the screen bigger, the print bigger, so I can read the screen. All these things are adjustments that we have to make in real time, because I won't know that they need to be adjusted until I actually use them. That's why we're doing a stress test tonight for like 3 hours. Okay. Yeah. You know, one word makes all the difference in the world. Decision or discussion. See, I can't see here, and I can't see either way. And the screen is too far at the end of the desk for me to zoom up to it. And so I have to sit back to see it clearly this way, but then the words are too small. We'll figure it out by next show, because I know this is something that has to be fixed. Decision, not discussion. Yes, everything is a political decision. That is a good takeaway. And the reason I'm focusing on political decision is to motivate those of you out there that will watch, that don't underestimate your power being involved in we got to get you closer to the screen. Yes, we got to get that screen closer to you. That is true. Don't worry. The problem is I'm sitting too far away from the table. I need to move forward 1 foot. Then everything will be in focus. But if I move forward 1 foot, I can't reach the controls. That's the problem that we identified at the beginning of the program. I need to move the controls 1 foot forward. Once I do that, everything should work. But, I have to see how I'm going to get in here once I move the controls forward, because the space to get in is right here. But these are all issues that we will overcome by our next broadcast. All right, that's what this whole 2 weeks is for, to test out the system. All right. We went on the air for three hours almost. Another 15 minutes, it'll be 3 hours. We were on late because pieces of equipment weren't hooked up right. So we got that taken care of. We have a couple of patches to make things work. The house monitor, so that I could hear myself, was not hooked up at all. My decision. We got rid of an old piece of equipment because the sound in here was tight. Nice sound. Okay, but the sound that we use when I use for editing and just listening to music is different from the monitors in here. And I forgot when I got rid of the old stereo system that I still need to be able to hear me talk. That's only used once a week when I do this program. So its absence didn't mean anything until all of a sudden it was time to go on the air, and I couldn't hear the music from that system because the system's not hooked up. See, we're trying to thin out some of the old equipment as well. So we're getting there. Okay, this is inside baseball. You know, you'll find I'm very open and transparent. So I'll talk to you about all kinds of stuff. All right. Now this would be a show that I would delete. I would, under normal circumstances, just delete this show. After we went off the air, I would delete it. And it wouldn't exist anywhere. Okay, the YouTube had a false start. The show starts and then there's me correcting everything and then setting everything up and actually restarting the program over again because we were broadcasting to the wrong portal for Facebook Live. And so you see all of that on the Facebook broadcast. So I would just delete this whole program like it didn't happen. I'm going to let it stand, though. Okay. Maybe I'll ask my advisors what I should do. Oh, no, better yet, I'll ask you. This is the power of democracy. Those of you that are watching, and we'll let the majority rule. I will stay neutral on the vote. For those of you that are watching, all right, should I delete tonight's program or should I keep it for the official record? See, I'm inclined to keep it because it is what happened. It is what it is. And to me, it's a bad habit to start getting into deleting stuff that you think isn't good. Because once you go down that road, it's a slippery slope. That's where the cover-up begins. Let's pretend it didn't happen. So that's the cover-up. Because people, they want to look good. But the fact of the matter is, what happened, happened, and it couldn't happen any other way. So live with it, right? That's always been my motto. So even if it's a bad broadcast, I let it stay up. Because it's bad to me doesn't mean it's bad to everybody else. So we have a time. Well, no, we don't have a time. We have two people say keep the program. It's been a good show. Don't delete it. All right. So what say you all? What say you all? Should I keep the program or should I delete the program? Because it's a test run. Okay. There's another reason why we didn't do the virtual town hall. Is because this is the week that we're gonna take all the equipment, took everything apart. It was by miracle that we got things back together by 10 o'clock tonight. It's been 3 days. 3 days. The time just evaporated. I stayed in this room for the last 3 days. I have not been to bed. Okay. I mean, I've slept, but I haven't been to bed in 3 days. Okay. I slept, I could take a cat nap on the floor, get up, and start doing something else. All right. Because all of the junk that was in this room is in the hallway out of the room and then the main hallway of the house. Which means it's a nightmare in here. My daughter told me, Dad, I don't like the way the house looks. It looks messy and uncapped. My wife told me you were creating a fire hazard in terms of escaping. We don't have emergency egress. So I'm under a lot of pressure to get this stuff cleaned up. My wife brought boxes for me to put my junk in. So, you know, tonight, after I go off the air, I'm going to eat. Then I'm going to come in this room or in the hallway and start cleaning up. All right, put all that stuff in the basement. And then we'll take care of the technical issues tomorrow. And then we should pretty much be good to go. But this is a 40-hour, between 40 and 50 hours it takes to do this. This is not the first time we've done this. We've done this multiple times with equipment over the years. We've done it twice here, but I've literally taken everything apart at the public access station and put it all back together again. On multiple occasions. We used to have 12 weeks on, 1 week off. We would do everything in 1 week. And we would do it at least once a year. Just take everything apart, put stuff back together, test it as we do to make sure all the connections are solid. All right, it just takes time. It takes time. But this is gonna. At the end of the day, once we're all finished, it will have taken 50 hours. That's why I don't like moving stuff. And then once it's moved, it's staying. But it becomes necessary. You know, dust gets behind stuff, and then it just gets dusty, and it's just you have to do it. You have to do it. And since I'm a staff of one, that responsibility falls on me. It's not a burden. It's a responsibility. And just because you're one doesn't mean that it doesn't get done. You do it. You do the work yourself, right? All right. Keep it. Don't delete. Keep the program. So we have 3 keep the programs. We have no one saying delete it. All right. I believe it should be kept. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I haven't had any of my human fuel. This is game fuel. Mountain Dew. It's got the original colors. This has got a texture to the can, I guess, so it doesn't slip out of your hand when you take it out of the bucket of ice. I see there's a tutorial on how to open this, because I opened it and I couldn't get it open. I could not get it open. That's why I haven't drank. And as I pick the can up, I see there's directions on the side of the can on how to open this. It's pretty technical. Oh, here's the camera. All right. You can't see that, huh? See, the controls are back here. Focus. It's pretty fancy in terms of how to open this. I can't. But the top on this thing is fancy. You open it, right? You open it, and then you slide it back. It slides. I couldn't get this open to save my life, and I was trying to figure out how it opened. So I didn't drink any of it because I couldn't get the can open. And there's directions on the side, which I see now. They make the can so technical you can't even drink out of it. Mm-hmm. Well, that would have been good to have when it was ice cold. That was 3 hours ago. All right, someone sent a message in here. All right, I guess we're done for today. Ugh, this is horrible. Charged original dew. Doesn't taste anything. It tastes like it has vitamin A and B. You know what it tastes like? It tastes like diet soda. That's what it tastes like. It has a real strong chemical taste. I won't be drinking that. Made with real fruit juice. Charged original dew. Game fuel. It helps with alertness and accuracy. All right. And so you drink a can of that and you should be able to think. All right. The most important thing you need in order to think is sleep. Never underestimate the power of a good night's sleep. And that you can definitely take to the bank. All right, my friends, our time together has come to an end. Time to go eat dinner and then get back to work, cleaning the studio. Brother Ron, if you want to come by and see the changes, you're more than welcome to do so. Just give me a call and stop by. I'll be here tomorrow. And I'll show you what I changed around. All right, he's seen it before, and so he could see it after. Sister Maya's been here too, so you would appreciate what it was and what it now is. So that's what we've done. I think I know what I need to do in order to make this workable. This was good. This was good. This was a good use of a good run through. Okay. You gotta kind of have to like sit in the seat to figure out where things are so that you can operate effectively in doing this. I know what I gotta do. All right. So once I do that, then I'll bundle up all of the cables, make them all look nice and neat and professional, and we'll be ready to rock and roll. Had to do this live. You can't do this off the air, because only on the air can you know truly what's working right or not working right. And I got to figure out what's fluttering over there. I don't know. Can you all see fluttering? Is your screen fluttering like mine was? Just a real quick little thing like that. I don't know whether that's a issue with Facebook or whether that's my my computer here. All right, my friends. Time to go. God bless you all. Keep you strengthened and strong, and may the good Lord watch over the city of Hartford, right? And we will see you right here, same time, same place, a year from now. A year from now. Next week. We'll keep the program. All right, no fluttering on my end. All right, thank you, Brother Ron. All right, we'll pot that down and let's go. All right, my friends. See you next week. And we'll do it all once again. Open forum. With me, your host, J. Sam McCauley. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.